Nice ride. What year is that? 80-something? Officer Dale Pruitt leans against his patrol car, arms folded, grinning at the man standing beside the rusted Ford Tempo. I'm surprised that thing even made it up the hill. The man beside the Tempo does not smile. He is 61 years old. His name is Marcus Ellington. He stands with his hands visible, palms slightly raised, everything by the book. He has been through this before. Not exactly this, but something close enough that his body already knows what position to take. Is there a reason you've stopped me, officer? Pruitt pushes himself off the car. Cracked taillight. Left side. He walks a slow circle around the Tempo, and his boot scuffs deliberately against the rear bumper. Also, this thing looks like it could fall apart at a red light and become a road hazard. For your own safety, sir, he puts a little extra weight on that last word, the way a person does when they don't mean it. Marcus keeps his hands where they are. He counts. That is the first violation, the improper stop. No primary offense articulated. He files it without speaking. License and registration. Marcus reaches slowly into the breast pocket of his jacket. Not the jacket of a man who cannot afford better, but the jacket of a man who chose to drive his old car today. He hands over both documents without a word. Pruitt looks at the license, looks at Marcus, looks back at the license. This address? That's the Westbrook side. That's correct. Pruitt smiles again, a different kind of smile. He holds the license between two fingers and walks back to his car at the pace of a man who is not in any hurry, who does not need to be, who has done this 100 times and expects nothing to change. 3 people are on the sidewalk. A teenager leans on a bike rack, phone already up, narrating quietly. A man in a gray suit nods once, almost imperceptibly, and keeps walking. An older woman in a church hat picks up her pace and stares at the concrete. She does not look back. The narrator steps in. He has no idea. Because the man standing beside that rusted Ford Tempo, hands visible, everything by the book, is the director of the city traffic division, the man who oversees every officer in that unit, including the one grinning at his registration right now. And in 44 minutes, Dale Pruitt's badge will be on a supervisor's desk, and it will not be coming back. They just don't know it yet. But this story doesn't start here. Rewind 14 hours. Marcus Ellington woke at 5:30 the way he always does, without an alarm, in the dark, in the house on the Westbrook side that he has owned for 22 years. His wife, Adrienne, was already at the kitchen table with coffee and a legal pad when he came downstairs. She has been a civil rights attorney for 31 years. She does not sleep past 5:15 on mornings when anything important is happening, and most mornings are important. "You're driving the Tempo today," she said without looking up. Marcus poured his coffee. "I know. The headlights still work?" "The headlights still work." The Tempo belonged to Marcus's father. Earl Ellington worked 37 years for the city as a sanitation supervisor and kept that car running the way a man keeps something running when he cannot afford to let it fail. Earl died 4 years ago, before Marcus was appointed director, before the ceremony. Before the photograph that now sits on the windowsill in the kitchen, Marcus in his dress uniform, hand on a plaque with his name on it, and the space beside him where Earl would have stood if he had lived to see it. Marcus looks at that photograph every morning. He looked at it this morning. He had one stop to make. His mother's apartment is 12 minutes from the house, on the other side of the district boundary. He does this every Sunday, drops off groceries, stays for 45 minutes, leaves before the afternoon traffic builds. It is the most ordinary Sunday in the world. He was on his way home when Dale Pruitt pulled him over. Dale Pruitt has been an officer in the city traffic division for 9 years. He has 2 Officer of the Year commendations. His photograph is on the wall in the precinct lobby. His captain, Gerald Foss, has called him a cornerstone of the unit at 3 consecutive department reviews. He is confident in the way that men are confident when they have been told repeatedly that they are right. He has also accumulated 19 formal complaints in 9 years. 19. 11 were filed by black residents. 7 by Latino residents. 1 by a white truck driver who said Pruitt called him a name he never expected to hear from a law enforcement officer. Each complaint was reviewed. Each complaint was closed. Gerald Foss oversaw the review process. Gerald Foss closed every single one. Dale Pruitt has never, in 9 years, received a consequence. What he does not know, what Gerald Foss does not know, what the teenager with the phone does not know, is that 18 days ago, Marcus Ellington received a folder. That folder came from the city's independent oversight office. It contained a summary of complaint patterns across all traffic units for the past 4 years. Dale Pruitt's name appeared at the top of every list. Marcus had read the folder on a Tuesday evening at the kitchen table while Adrian worked across from him. He had not said anything for a long time. Then he said, "I'm going to drive the tempo on Sunday." Adrian had looked up from her legal pad. She understood immediately. She said, "I'll keep my phone on." Back in the present, Dale Pruitt is still in his patrol car. He has been in there for 6 minutes. Marcus stands beside the tempo, hands at his sides, watching the patrol car's windshield. He counts the second violation, prolonged and unjustified detention. He adds it to the list. The teenager on the bike rack has stopped narrating. He's just filming now, quietly, the phone steady. Pruitt gets out of the car. He walks back with Marcus's license held loosely. The way a person holds something they have already decided isn't real. He is not in a hurry. He never has been. "Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me." Marcus does not move. "On what grounds?" "Your registration shows a discrepancy with the address on file. That's a potential fraud issue. Second violation was wrong. This is the third." Marcus adjusts his count. "My registration is current and accurate. There is no discrepancy. I'd like to hear the specific basis for any further detention." Pruitt takes 1 step closer. His smile has a different quality now. Not the easy grin from earlier, but something smaller and harder. "You want to do this the hard way? That's your call. I want to do this the legal way, which I suspect is what you're afraid of." Something flickers in Pruitt's face. It is not uncertainty, not yet. It is the mild irritation of a man who expected something different and is not sure what to do with the unexpected. He looks back at the patrol car. He looks at the phone on the bike rack. He looks at Marcus. Out of the vehicle. "I'm not in the vehicle. Step away from the vehicle. I'm standing on a public sidewalk. You have not articulated a lawful basis for any further instruction. I'm asking you, for the second time, to either cite a specific statute or allow me to continue on my way." Pruitt's jaw tightens. "You're obstructing. I'm recording." Marcus's voice does not change pitch. Or rather, "I'm being recorded." He glances, briefly, at the teenager on the bike rack. The teenager lowers the phone 1/2 inch and then raises it again. Pruitt looks at the phone. He does not look happy. Hands on the hood. Violation 4. Unlawful search and seizure without probable cause. Marcus puts his hands on the hood. The metal is warm. The sun is just past its peak, and the asphalt smells like it did when he was a boy. Riding with his father to the auto shop on Clearwater, the tempo shuddering at every intersection. He counts. He does not speak. Pruitt begins to search him. Jacket pockets, trouser pockets, moving with the efficiency of someone who has done this many times without consequence. He finds a wallet, a folded grocery receipt, a pen. He finds nothing, because there is nothing to find. He takes Marcus's phone. He holds it up. turns it over once, and puts it in his own shirt pocket. You'll get that back. Violation 5. 29 minutes. Pruitt keys his radio. He is calling for backup. He is describing, to his dispatcher, what he is characterizing as a suspicious individual refusing to cooperate. He is using precise language. Not black man with old car, but individual displaying signs of agitation and evasion. The language has been filed down over years for exactly this use. It slides through the dispatcher, through the radio, through the department's paper trail without catching on anything. It is institutional language. It is a machine that has been maintained carefully by many hands for a long time. The woman in the church hat is gone. The suited man is gone. The teenager is still filming. A second patrol car arrives 6 minutes later. The officer who gets out is younger than Pruitt. 3 years on the force. Name badge, reading Santos. She takes in the scene with one sweep. She looks at the tempo. She looks at Pruitt. She looks at Marcus. The way he is standing. The calm of him. The hands. The set of his jaw. And something crosses her face and does not become a word. What have we got? She asked Pruitt. Uncooperative. Possible registration fraud. Ran the plates. Car comes back clean, but registration address doesn't match his story. His story matches his license, Marcus says quietly. His license matches the registration. There is no discrepancy. Santos looks at the license still in Pruitt's hand. She looks at Marcus for a beat longer than she needs to. She says, very quietly, mostly to herself, "Make sure your paperwork is tight, Dale." It is the most she will say for the next 18 minutes. They put Marcus in the back of Pruitt's patrol car. This is violation 6. Unlawful arrest without probable cause. Marcus sits with his hands folded in his lap and watches the street through the scratched plexiglass. A child on a tricycle passes on the far sidewalk. A woman hangs something on a line over a second-floor balcony. The neighborhood does not stop because he is in the back of a patrol car. It never does. 14 minutes. The teenager on the bike rack is no longer on the bike rack. He is walking north. Phone still recording. Footage uploading to a platform before he reaches the corner. Across town, Adrienne Ellington looks at her phone. A text from an unknown number. The teenager found her number through the city's public directory in 4 minutes flat. Your husband is in a patrol car on Clearwater, by the hill. She is on her feet before she finishes reading it. She sends 3 messages in 3 minutes. The first goes to Terry Weston at the city's independent oversight office, a woman Adrienne has known for 9 years, a woman who has been building a complaint file on this specific traffic unit for 16 months and who picks up on the first ring. The second goes to her senior associate, Marcus Tran, who handles media contacts and knows how to move quickly. The third goes to Gregory Park, Marcus's deputy director, who has been with the traffic division for 11 years and who does not need Adrienne to explain anything beyond. He's in a patrol car on Clearwater, Dale Pruitt's unit. Documentation wins. Emotion loses. Evidence is everything. Gregory Park is in his car before the third message sends. He does not use his lights. He does not hurry in a way that announces itself. He drives the way a man drives when he has been waiting for something, and it has finally arrived. 36 minutes. Pruitt is at his patrol car's hood, filling out a form on a clipboard. He has his travel mug. At one point his phone buzzes, and he reads something and smiles. He looks up at his patrol car, at the back of Marcus's head through the plexiglass, and says something to himself that the teenager's footage, later enhanced, will not quite resolve into words. It looks like a laugh. It sounds like one. He has no idea that his career is now measured in minutes. Inside the patrol car, Marcus Ellington counts violation 7. Unlawful imprisonment, extended and unjustified detention without formal charge or booking. He watches Pruitt at the hood of the car and thinks about the folder. He thinks about 19 complaints spanning 9 years. He thinks about the first complaint filed, 2015. A 23-year-old man named Curtis Webb, who was stopped 4 blocks from this spot for a broken taillight that Pruitt, according to Webb's statement, had never actually seen. He thinks about Gerald Foss closing that file in 11 days. He thinks about the 8 files after Curtis Webb and the 11 files after those. He thinks about what Earl would have said. Earl Ellington, who drove the Tempo carefully and legally and without incident for 37 years because he understood precisely the calculation involved, who never complained out loud, not once, who died without seeing his son's name on a plaque, who would have understood completely why Marcus drove the Tempo today. The point is not what happens to Dale Pruitt. The point is what happens to the next person he stops. The point is that they should not have to be the director of anything. 8 minutes left. Gregory Park pulls up in an unmarked city vehicle at minute 41. He does not get out immediately. He sits for a moment, watching. He sees Pruitt. He sees Santos. He sees the patrol car. He gets out. Dale, his voice is flat. Pruitt turns. Detective Park, what brings you out here? I need you to open that patrol car door. Pruitt's smile does not drop all at once. It goes slowly, a degree at a time, as Park walks toward the car, and he cannot make sense of why. I've got a detained individual in there. Possible. I know who you have in there, Dale. The smile is gone. Park opens the rear door of the patrol car himself. Marcus Ellington steps out. He straightens his jacket. He accepts his phone back from a Park who has already, quietly, taken it from Pruitt's shirt pocket before Pruitt understood what was happening. Marcus looks at Dale Pruitt for a long moment. My name is Marcus Ellington. His voice is the same voice it has been for the past 44 minutes, even, unhurried, precise. I'm the director of the City Traffic Division. I oversee this unit. I oversee your unit. And I oversee you. Dale Pruitt's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. Every officer in this district reports to my office. Every complaint filed in this district is reviewed by my office. Every disciplinary decision in this unit runs through my authority. He pauses. 1 beat, including yours. Santos, standing 6 feet away, has gone very still. I did not identify myself earlier, Marcus continues, because the next person you stop will not be able to. And that is the only point that has ever mattered here. Pruitt's face has gone the color of old cement. He takes 1 step backward. He looks at Gregory Park. He looks at Officer Santos. He looks at the patrol car. He looks at Marcus. Marcus says, I call your union representative. He does not raise his voice. He does not smile. He turns and walks back to the Tempo. 48 hours later, Dale Pruitt was placed on administrative suspension pending a full disciplinary review. He sat in the parking lot of a Sunoco station and read the suspension notice on his phone, and then sat there for 22 minutes without starting his car. 72 hours after that, Captain Gerald Foss requested an early retirement, effective immediately, citing personal health. His request was accepted before the end of the business day. The disciplinary review did not take long. It did not take long, because Terry Weston had 16 months of compiled complaint data already organized, cross-referenced, and ready to hand to a city attorney. It did not take long, because the teenager on the bike rack had uploaded 41 minutes of uninterrupted footage that was at 200,000 views before Pruitt's suspension was formally announced, and 400,000 by the time the city's communications office issued a statement. It did not take long, because Gregory Park had driven to the Clearwater Street not as a favor, but as a man who had been watching a specific set of files for 2 years and understood that the footage plus the director's first-hand account plus Weston's complaint data was a combination. The department's internal review system could not route around the way it had routed around everything before. This one they couldn't manage, Gregory Park said later to a reporter from the city paper. Not with the footage, not with the documentation, and not with who was in that car. Marcus submitted a written statement to the review board. It ran 11 pages. It named every violation in sequence, with the case precedent relevant to each one. It did not use the word racism once. It did not need to. At the public hearing, Marcus Ellington was given the opportunity to address the board. He spoke for 19 minutes. He did not raise his voice once in 19 minutes. I share this not to seek sympathy, he said, because I am in a position that most people stopped on that street would never have access to. I have counsel. I have documentation. I have institutional authority. When I was placed in the back of that patrol car, I already knew the outcome would be different for me than it would be for a 23-year-old without those resources. The same 23-year-old who filed the first complaint in 2015 that this department dismissed in 11 days. I am not here to tell you about my experience. I am here to tell you about his and about the 11 people after him. He described what the complaint files showed. He described what the dismissal pattern showed. He described what an 18-day review of department data revealed about which neighborhoods were stopped, at what rates, by which officers, with what outcomes. He spoke about qualified immunity as a mechanism that, in practice, shielded the pattern rather than the individual act. He named the structural corrections the department was required to implement under city code, in language that made clear he had written 2 of the relevant provisions himself. If I had to announce my title to be treated with dignity, he said, at the close of his 19 minutes, then the system has already failed. Not me. The system, because dignity is not something you earn by being a director. It is not something you carry in a badge or a title, or the particular car in your driveway. It is something every person on that sidewalk was entitled to, without exception. The law says so. This department's own manual says so. And today, for once, I am going to make sure we act like we believe it. The room was quiet for a long time after he sat down. Dale Pruitt was terminated following the full hearing. He appealed. The appeal board reviewed the footage, the 19 complaint files, the formal statement, and a supplemental report from Terry Weston's office documenting the complaint dismissal pattern over 9 years. The appeal was denied in 12 days, the shortest appeal decision in the unit's recent history. Pruitt surrendered his badge and service weapon at 4:15 on a Wednesday afternoon. 3 colleagues were present in the processing room. None of them spoke. His locker had already been cleaned out. He carried a single cardboard box to his car in the department parking lot. No ceremony, no farewell. Just the sound of a car door closing in an empty lot on a Wednesday afternoon. Gerald Foss's pension is under review, pending the outcome of a federal inquiry into the complaint dismissal process. His name appears 11 times in Terry Weston's report. He has retained counsel. The 19 complaint files that Foss dismissed across 9 years are now formally reopened under the Oversight Office's jurisdiction. 4 have been referred to the city attorney. 3 involve incidents that may rise to federal civil rights violations. The officers' union has been notified of an external audit of its complaint handling procedures, the first such audit in 7 years. The union president issued a statement. The statement used the word procedural 4 times in 2 paragraphs. Officer Santos submitted a voluntary written statement during the review process. She was not formally penalized. The review board noted in its findings that she had advised Pruitt to ensure his paperwork was tight, a statement characterized as falling short of intervention but above active complicity. She enrolled, voluntarily, in a procedural justice training program. She was later reassigned to a community outreach role in the same district where the stop occurred. She has not spoken publicly about the incident. She wrote a letter and mailed it to the city's director of traffic. Marcus read it on a Tuesday morning at his desk. He has not responded yet. He is taking his time with what the right response is. Gregory Park was quietly promoted to Deputy Chief of Traffic Operations 8 weeks after the hearing. He has not given any interviews. He did one thing publicly. He submitted a letter to the city's training office recommending a mandatory curriculum overhaul for complaint handling procedures at the district level. The letter is 3 pages. The curriculum is under revision. The teenager on the bike rack, his name is Darius Cole. He is 19 years old. He works warehouse logistics on weekday mornings and takes an evening class at the community college. Was contacted by 4 news programs and a documentary producer. He agreed to none of them. I just kept filming, he told one producer, on the phone, before hanging up. He did one thing. He filed, through the city's public portal, a formal commendation for Gregory Park. It is the first commendation Park has received in 11 years. Park read it in his car during his lunch break and did not mention it to anyone for 2 weeks. The older woman in the church hat wrote an anonymous letter to the city council. 1 page, handwritten. She described exactly what she saw, and she described walking away. And she said she had been ashamed of that since the moment she turned the corner. She asked, at the end, what a person was supposed to do when they were afraid, and they walked away anyway. The letter is in the public record. Nobody has answered her yet. That question deserves an answer. The suited man, who nodded once and kept walking, has not written anything. He has not been identified. He is, somewhere, still going about his Sundays. That is also a kind of data. Marcus drove the Tempo back to the Westbrook side, the afternoon of the stop. Adrienne was on the porch. He parked at the curb and sat for a moment with one hand on the steering wheel, looking at the house, at the porch, at the lit window where the photograph sits on the sill. Then he got out. They sat together while the light changed. The neighborhood moved from afternoon into evening the way it always does. The Tempo sat at the curb the way it did when Earl drove it, the way it will sit there tomorrow. Someone asked me today, Marcus said eventually, why I didn't just tell him from the start. Adrienne waited. I said, because the next person he stops won't be able to. She nodded. She already knew. She had always known. It was why she told him to take the Tempo that morning, and not the city vehicle. Terry called, she said. 3 more names in the folder. I know. The street was quiet. A child somewhere had a bicycle with a loose spoke that clicked with every rotation, fading as they rode further down the block. It doesn't end, Marcus said, not complaining. Just naming it the way you name something true. No, Adrienne said. It doesn't. She reached over and put her hand on his. They sat like that while the evening came in and the porch light came on automatically above them, the way it has every evening for 22 years. The files are still open. The names are still on the list. Someone has to be watching. Before you move on, think about what Dale Pruitt said when he saw that rusted Ford Tempo. What he assumed, what he was certain of. And think about every person who has ever stood where Marcus stood, without his title, without his folder, without Gregory Park pulling up in that unmarked car. Because most of them did not have those things. Most of them had the same hands, visible palms raised, the same calm voice, the same dignity, and none of it was enough. Marcus Ellington had the power to change what happened. The next person Pruitt stopped might not. That is the truth he said out loud, and it is the only reason he drove the Tempo that morning instead of his city vehicle. Not for himself. For that person. Drop a comment below. Have you ever watched something wrong happen and stayed silent? Not because you didn't care, but because you knew it wouldn't matter? What did that cost you? Because that is what accountability asks us to sit with. Not just what the system did wrong, what each of us did. And what we do next time. Subscribe for more stories that name what most people are afraid to say out loud, because the files are still open. The names are still on the list. And someone has to keep watching